Then we got this new poll. Interesting. It shows President Trump's approval rating actually moving up. It's hit 43%. That's his approval rate, 43%. It's up.
Guess what just dropped? Trump's approval rating hit 43%. And I mean, that's not just bad. That's really bad. We're talking negative 9.4 net approval. More than half the country disapproves of the job he's doing. And here's the kicker. This is one of the lowest points of his entire second term. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, polls are fake, the media lies, whatever. But look, this isn't just one poll showing this. Multiple polls. Same trend. Trump's numbers are tanking. And the reasons why? They're way more interesting than what the mainstream media is telling you. So here's what's actually happening. Trump's base, still rock solid. Like 90% of Republicans still approve. That hasn't changed. But independents, women, swing voters, they're bailing fast. And it's not because of some scandal or some tweet. It's because of something way more fundamental. Their wallets are hurting. Inflation is crushing people. And honestly, they're looking at Trump and saying, you promised to fix this, and it's getting worse. His approval on inflation dropped 6 points in just 1 month. 6 points. That's a collapse. 61% of Americans are dissatisfied with how he's handling the economy. You can't win elections with those numbers. You just can't. But wait, there's more. Because Trump keeps stepping on his own message by doing stupid stuff that distracts from anything good he might be accomplishing. Remember when he tried to get Jimmy Kimmel fired? Yeah, that brilliant move. 68% of Americans said government pressure on media is unacceptable. Only 12% supported it. So Trump picks a fight with a late-night comedian, loses badly in public opinion, and tanks his approval even further. And you know what the crazy part is? He keeps doing this stuff over and over, like he can't help himself. And every time he does, more independents and moderates walk away. So now we're watching this slow motion political collapse. And the question everyone's asking is, can he turn it around? Or is this the new normal?
Style media out there doing everything it can to undermine Trump, and his approval rating goes up.
I think the biggest thing that you get from this poll, Stuart, is that he's getting things done and he's following through on promises made during the campaign. How many presidents do that? Practically nobody, right? And the numbers, I think it's 44% say he has actually followed through on those campaign promises. Another thing that I took away from the poll is that the issues of most importance to voters, always and ever, economy is number one.
All right. So let me explain what's really driving these numbers, because most coverage is missing the bigger picture. First thing you got to understand, Trump's approval has always been weird compared to other presidents. Most presidents start high and drop over time. Trump, he's never had majority approval, not in his first term, not in his second term. He lives in this narrow band between like 40 and 46%. That's just his range. So when we talk about him dropping to 43, we're talking about him hitting the floor of that range. And that's a problem because historically, presidents with approval in the low 40s get destroyed in midterms. We're talking massive seat losses, total political disasters. So if Trump stays here, 2026 is going to be brutal for Republicans. Now let's dig into the economic stuff, because this is the real story. Inflation is the killer. People are paying more for everything. Groceries, gas, rent, healthcare, everything costs more. And yeah, unemployment is low, wages are technically up, but people don't feel better off because their dollar doesn't go as far. They're making more money, but they're actually poorer in real terms. And you know what happens when people feel economically squeezed? They blame whoever's in charge. Fair or not, that's just how it works. And right now, Trump's in charge, so he's getting blamed. His approval on inflation is negative 30. Think about that. For every person who thinks he's handling inflation well, 3 people think he's doing a terrible job. That's catastrophic. And here's what makes it worse. Trump doesn't have a good answer for it. He can talk about cutting regulations, about energy independence, about trade deals, but none of that brings down prices tomorrow. None of that helps the mom struggling to afford groceries this week. And voters are impatient. They want results now. They want to feel relief now. And when they don't get it, they tune out whatever the president's saying about long-term economic policy. They just see their bank account and think this isn't working. So Trump's losing the economic argument, not because his policies are necessarily wrong, but because they're not producing the immediate relief people are desperate for. Then there's the culture war stuff, and this is where Trump's really shooting himself in the foot. The Jimmy Kimmel thing is a perfect example. Kimmel's been making jokes about Trump for years. Every late night host does. It's part of the game. But Trump can't let it go. He has to respond. He has to fight back. And instead of just firing off a tweet and moving on, his administration tried to pressure networks to cancel Kimmel's show, actual government pressure on private media companies. And Americans hated it. Even a lot of Republicans were uncomfortable with it because it looks like government censorship. It looks like using power to silence critics. And that's not what America's supposed to be about. But Trump doesn't see it that way. He sees someone attacking him and thinks, I have power now. I can shut this down. And his base loves that attitude. They love that he fights back. They love that he doesn't take criticism lying down. But everyone else, they're turned off. They see a president who's thin-skinned, who's vindictive, who cares more about his image than about serious problems. And every time Trump does this, every time he picks a petty fight with a comedian or a reporter or whoever, he loses more independents, more moderates, more people who might have given him a chance, but now think this guy's not serious.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
And the demographic breakdown is really telling. Women are leaving Trump in droves. His approval among women has dropped significantly. Meanwhile, men are more mixed. Some support him, some don't. So you're seeing this massive gender gap opening up. And that's a huge problem for Republicans because women vote at higher rates than men, consistently. So if Trump's alienating women voters, that doesn't just hurt him, it hurts every Republican on the ballot. Governors, senators, House members, they all suffer when the top of the ticket is dragging down the party with women voters. And Trump doesn't seem to care or doesn't know how to fix it. He just keeps doing the same stuff that's driving women away. Okay, so let's break this down into what actually matters moving forward. Point 1, the economy is dominating everything and Trump's losing that fight badly. Look, Trump built his entire political brand on being this business genius who could fix the economy. That was his main selling point. I'm rich, I know how to make deals, I'll make America prosperous. And for a while, he could point to decent economic indicators, stock market up, unemployment down, whatever. But now, none of that matters because people's lived experience is negative. They're struggling. They're stressed about money. They're cutting back on things they used to afford easily. And when that's happening, voters don't care about GDP growth or stock market records. They care about their grocery bill. And here's the brutal reality. Trump probably can't fix inflation quickly enough to save his approval ratings. Inflation is a complex problem with global causes, supply chains, energy markets, monetary policy. There's no magic button the president can push to make prices drop overnight. Even if Trump implemented perfect policies today, it would take months or years to see results. And voters don't have that patience. They want relief now. So Trump's stuck in this trap where the problem that's killing his approval is the one problem he can't solve quickly. And every day that inflation stays high, more voters give up on him.
Democrats are not doing enough to explain what their economic policy would be, but I don't think that's the mission of Democrats at the moment. Right now, Democrats and frankly, the world, the business world, the institutional leadership world has done enough to show that whatever the president has done thus far, specifically on the economy, has resulted in broad uncertainty for not only the business community, but for average working class and middle class families, many of whom voted for this president. And so I expect there to be something of a reduction in his approval rating, of course, because of the post-inauguration bump settling in. But also what we're starting to see is a significant amount of uncertainty in Americans' guts as the stock market whiplashes every day, as we become familiar with people in our actual lives who have had their jobs reduced. And we have to realize that there is a long tail on the actions that we saw within the first 100 days, particularly as it pertains to the doging of American government and these dramatic reductions. You will see organizations that receive these funding grants be able to not retain staff into the fall. You'll see further ramifications on a long end policy sales cycle. And as those realities hit American people toward the summer and into the fall, I expect that the approval rating will drop further as these realities settle in on Americans' real pocketbooks and real lives.
Point 2, Trump's culture war strategy is backfiring in a major way. And this is really important to understand. Trump's team thinks the culture war stuff energizes the base and wins elections. And they're partially right. It does energize the base. His supporters love when he fights with the media, when he attacks Hollywood, when he rails against political correctness. They see it as him standing up for them against elites who look down on them. But here's the problem. The base is already maxed out. Trump's got 90% approval among Republicans. He can't squeeze more support out of them. So firing up the base doesn't actually gain him anything. What he needs is to win back independents and moderates. And the culture war stuff pushes those people away. The Jimmy Kimmel situation is the perfect example. Most independents don't love Jimmy Kimmel. He's just another late night host. But when the government tries to pressure networks to cancel him, suddenly those same independents are defending him. Because Americans have this deep instinct against government censorship. Even people who don't like Kimmel will defend his right to make jokes. And Trump doesn't get this. He thinks Kimmel's attacking me. My supporters hate Kimmel, so I'll go after him and look strong. But what actually happens is he looks petty and authoritarian. and more independents decide they can't support him. It's the same pattern over and over. Trump does something that fires up his base but alienates everyone else. And since his base is already at maximum support, he's just trading intensity among existing supporters for actual vote losses among persuadable voters.
Yes, people say that Trump said that he was going to do this on the campaign trail, and he's doing it. It is still stunning to see a president using his power the way he is to go after his political enemies.
Yeah, I mean, it's become a cliche, but it's another one of these things that's shocking but not surprising, right? Look, on the Comey thing in particular, I think this is a bigger step than some of these others. Not to say that some of the other things they've done were fine or normal. I think Jim Comey is sort of a fastidious popinjay and did a lot of damage to our politics and to the Justice Department. He also in no way deserves to be selectively prosecuted for this sort of pretextual nonsense. And the signal that it is sending within the Justice Department, I think, is pretty profound. And the signal it is sending to other critics in a sort of a chilling effect of, look, we will just make something up, essentially, in order to get payback against you. That's going to have real consequences going forward.
Point 3. What happens next is going to determine Trump's entire second-term legacy. If these approval numbers stay in the low 40s through the midterms, Republicans are going to lose big. We're talking potentially losing control of the House, losing Senate seats, losing governorships. And when that happens, Trump becomes a lame duck. He can't pass legislation. He faces investigations and oversight. His agenda grinds to a halt. So Trump needs to turn these numbers around fast. But how? He can't magically fix inflation. He can't change his personality and stop picking petty fights. And his base strategy of maximum polarization isn't winning over new voters. So Trump's got limited options. He could pivot to kitchen table issues, show more empathy for struggling families, stop the culture war stuff, and focus on practical solutions. But that's not who he is. Everything we know about Trump says he won't change. He'll keep being Trump. Keep fighting, keep attacking, keep playing to the base. And if that's what happens, these approval numbers might be the new ceiling, not the floor. They might drop even further because the economic pain isn't going away, the demographic shifts aren't reversing, and Trump's approach isn't working with the voters he needs to win over. Bottom line, we're watching a president trapped by his own strategy and by circumstances beyond his control. His approval is falling because of real economic pain and because of self-inflicted political wounds. And unless something major changes, either the economy improves dramatically or Trump completely changes his approach, these numbers are probably going to stay bad or get worse, which means the next year of American politics is going to be defined by a weakened president trying to hold on to power while his support continues to erode. More breaking analysis coming as these numbers keep moving.